Good evening. The government today lost its attempt to block public exposure of intelligence information relating to torture allegations concerning Binyam Mohamed. 3 of this country's top judges ruled that summaries of information connected to the case and received by the British from the Americans should be disclosed, despite government claims that the intelligence sharing relationship with the United States could be jeopardized. It turned out that an American court had already allowed publication of similar information. Tonight, a senior Obama administration official said the United States was deeply disappointed by the verdict. In a moment, we'll hear from the Foreign Secretary, David Miliband. First, in a legally, diplomatically and politically complex case, here's our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban.
The story of Binyam Mohamed, a convert to Islam who fell into the American system of ghost prisons, has taken a dramatic turn today. British government attempts to keep secret a description of how Mr Mohamed was treated after he was spirited off by the CIA have failed, and lawyers who oppose the government are triumphant.
You have to look around at what is the real reason that people have tried to keep these rather innocuous paragraphs under wraps. And the short answer appears to be, in my view, nothing short of the fact that people understood that criminal offences had been committed, both in international law and our own domestic law, that led to the fact that people who were complicit in the torture of Binyam Mohamed could be prosecuted in this country, and it was a cover-up.
The paragraphs released today had been removed from an earlier judgment at the government's request, describing sleep deprivation, shackling and threats made by American operatives. It concludes,
the treatment reported, if it had been administered on behalf of the United Kingdom, would clearly have been in breach of the undertakings given by the United Kingdom in 1972. Although it is not necessary for us to categorise the treatment reported, it could readily be contended to be at the very least cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment by the United States authorities.
The Foreign Office maintains that it was simply trying to keep up the control principle. That's what the intelligence professionals in MI6 call it when they jealously guard the secrets of a foreign power that have been entrusted to them. However, the revelation of that information about Binyam Mohamed in an American court meant that it was no longer necessary or justified to keep it secret in Britain.
The Foreign Secretary.
In a statement to the Commons today, the Foreign Secretary argued that he was trying to maintain the control principle rather than suppress the material for its own sake.
At issue in this case was not the content of the 7 paragraphs, but the principle of their disclosure by an English court against US wishes.
Both the security service MI5, which is accused by Mr Mohamed of colluding in his torture, and the Secret Intelligence Service MI6 insist that they do not condone any form of torture.
Our officers are as committed to the values and the human rights values of liberal democracy as anybody else. They also have the responsibility of protecting the country against terrorism. And these issues need to be debated and understood in that context.
But today's judgment has caused fresh controversy because of a last-minute submission to the judge by counsel for the government, Jonathan Sumption QC. He asked that the judgment delivered today be toned down because the judge's observations might imply
that the security service does not in fact operate a culture that respects human rights or abjures participation in coercive interrogation techniques.
This, argued Mr Sumption, could
constitute an exceptionally damaging criticism of the good faith of the security service as a whole. In particular, the suggestion that the court should distrust any UK government assurance based on the service's advice and information will unquestionably be cited in other cases.
The judge made changes to his final judgment as a result.
There is a case which is engraved on the heart of every constitutional lawyer, dating from 1637, the ship money case, and that says that no government minister or agent of the government should have a private or secret communication with the court. Unfortunately, that appears to have occurred in this case, and Mr Sumption appears to have written to the Master of the Rolls, seeking to have part of his judgment changed so as not to be, or to be less critical of both the Foreign Office and the security services.
The Foreign Office insisted tonight it had not tried to communicate secretly with the judge. The US government, meanwhile, spoke of its gratitude that Britain had tried to protect its secrets.
In a previous submission to the court, the Foreign Secretary argued that revealing this type of information could seriously damage the intelligence relationship with America. But many intelligence professionals disagree with that for two reasons. Firstly, the kind of practices revealed in the Binyam Mohamed case of ghost prisons and mistreatment of detainees have been comprehensively disowned by the Obama administration. Secondly, the US has too much at stake in its continued intelligence sharing with the UK simply to cut it off.
It probably will raise some flags between the two services, and they'll have a discussion. But Mr. Obama has done far more damage to the U.S. Intelligence community and the United States' general ability to protect itself than the decision of 3 judges in the UK. So I don't think it's a big problem politically between the two governments.
So the government and intelligence services know that tonight their battle to keep secret information about Binyam Mohamed has failed. But there will be other battles, for the question of possible UK complicity remains under active investigation.